Welcome to ActiveLab, the official podcast of Active San Gabriel Valley. ActiveSGV is a place-based organization headquartered in El Monte, whose mission is to create a more sustainable, equitable, and livable San Gabriel Valley. And on today's episode, we're really excited to focus on an honoree of our 2024 Noche de las Luminarias. ActiveSGV's annual celebration of people and projects advancing a healthier, more sustainable San Gabriel Valley is coming up on September 12th. And we will be honoring, among others, Grace Santiago, who will receive the Brian Velez Memorial Award as our 2024 Volunteer of the Year. And this, for our team, is a particularly meaningful award because it recognizes one of our former colleagues who contributed countless hours into making our first Open Streets events, our first 66 Golden Streets event in 2017, the 8-city event, a success, and was really an integral part of the team, first as a volunteer and then as a member of staff. So we're really excited every year to honor and memorialize Brian's contribution to our organization with this award of the Volunteer of the Year. And with that, I'd love to start with a congratulations to Grace for being not only nominated, but voted the Volunteer of the Year.
Thanks.
So we wanted to jump right into things. You've been a longtime volunteer with ActiveSGV. When and how did you first connect with the organization?
I think the first time I ever did anything with Active was maybe like 2015, 2016. There was like an Open Streets event in South El Monte, and one of my friends was volunteering for one of the bike valets, and I passed by to kind of say hi, and then I saw what they were doing, and then after that I started going to the rides to help, and I just kind of started helping out as I went to the rides and make sure that I could plug in whenever I saw a need.
Yeah, and back then the organization, of course, was Bike San Gabriel Valley,
Yeah.
So there were a lot of bike events and bike rides that happened regularly. So you came at it as a cyclist, really,
Yeah.
or someone who enjoyed bicycling. So you're one of the longest serving volunteers with the organization. What has kept you engaged for so many years?
I think it's really been cool to see Bike SGV now transform into Active SGV and just see it grow. And it's so crazy to think how the teams really blossom project-wise, teams-wise, mission-wise. So it started off with open streets, pedestrian safety, bicycling, which is so important. But now it's like all around public health initiatives. So I think it's been really cool, and seeing how the team grows and see more people and their different passions and things that they're interested in. So I really like seeing the transformation and how the organization hasn't stayed stagnant and really kind of diversified. So there's always something cool and new happening at Active.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of change
Yeah.
in that period. It's been an almost 10-year period. So are there, I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, are there specific programs and projects that the organization does now that you're specifically interested in or you kind of gravitate towards more?
I think my favorite stuff is like the Go SGV and the Open Street stuff, for sure. Those are definitely the most fun projects. And I think they're specifically valuable to me because, like, back in the day, when I was biking a little bit more on the streets, there was times where I'd be on the bikes and on my bike, and I would try to like bike to work, and it just wasn't sustainable because it was just not safe in my neighborhood, and there had some really bad experiences, and so I was really hesitant to get back on my bike because of some bad experiences. And Active kind of gave me, or like Bike SGV at the time, and then now Active gave me the opportunity to kind of get back on the saddle and build the skills to be comfortable getting back on biking and being on the street. So I think those are the projects that have always been really important to me. And like the Go SGV is cool because it makes it more accessible to other people that have like maybe mobility issues. And so that's really been great to see, especially with like the different grants that the cities have given Go SGV. And it's also been really great with the Open Street because that's always just fun, just to see all the orgs come out, the cities collaborate, the partners that come in and do like-minded cool things. So those have definitely been my favorite things to participate in.
Yeah, those are, I know, really special days, the Open Streets.
Long days, but fun days.
Long days, but fun days. Yeah, long days for
Yeah.
the planning team too. And then I know with the e-bikes as well, it's
Yeah.
really opened up bicycling to folks who may not otherwise be able to participate or be able to bicycle as much.
And yeah, like with the car, because it was first just like the pedicabs, then the cargo bikes, and now like the whole fleet of e-bikes. It's been just really cool to see it grow.
Nice.
Yeah.
So of all those events that you've helped with and some of the bike programs, is there a favorite kind of volunteering memory that you could share? Or something that stands
Probably
out?
the favorite, I think, definitely would have been the long open streets, so the Golden Streets event that they had, because what was it, 17 miles? And it was just crazy to see how Active was able to collaborate, and just like, so much trial and tribulations, like the fire that happened, the different city ordinances, getting like the different police departments on board, and just being able to call us a ride that was so long was insane, because it started, what was it, in South Pasadena?
Yeah.
And then all the way to Irwindale?
All the way to Azusa.
To Azusa.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was just amazing, because, we have Ciclavia, we've had open streets after that, but I don't think, like, there's been anything here in LA that's been of that capacity. So that was really fun to be able to participate in that. So.
Yeah. I think we didn't realize what we were getting into when we said, sure, how hard could it be? Let's throw up a couple barricades and we'll connect 8 cities together.
Yeah.
So
Cake.
Yeah, but it was our first one, so we're super excited. It took a ton of volunteers to make that happen, because at the time we only had a handful of staff. I think it was 3 full-time staff at the time. So we really relied heavily on the volunteers to make that event possible. So for those, I know as part, especially the Open Streets events and some of the other events, we do try to really support the volunteers and have a number of perks and kind of other benefits to volunteering. Is there an aspect of that you enjoy, or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a big perk is just being with the people. Like, everybody's so nice, everybody's so passionate about the project. And I think in today's day and age, it's so easy to get overwhelmed with information, like the climate of everything, what's going on. So apathy is kind of almost a survival coping mechanism. And just being around people that are passionate and working towards improving things day by day in their communities, for their neighbors, has been really always great to see. But also, like, the perks are cool. Like, Active always gives cool swag, and when volunteers are at the events, people are always trying to buy the shirts off the volunteers' backs, getting upset that they can't get those volunteers' swag. So that's always really nice. A great incentive for volunteers, because it's great merch. And then the tap carts that are always specialized for the volunteers are always really cute, because they're a lot more special and a lot more limited than like the other ones that are available to the public. So those are definitely always a fun perks.
Nice.
And then actually, I was going to say also, I think probably my favorite part is after the open street events, like the after parties, just be able to connect with everybody and getting to like vent and relish and like the successes and like just the funny stories that happen throughout the long days. That's always a lot of fun after the events.
Yeah, I know a lot of the team really enjoy that too, because they're so focused on maybe one area of the event that they don't really get to experience it like others do. So sharing kind of highlights is always fun. So given all your years of volunteering with the organization, if someone were interested in joining, would you have any tips on the best way to do so, or?
I would say just kind of participate in the programs, because I think that's what happened with me. Like, I was never intending to volunteer or help out with Active. Like, that wasn't something I was necessarily looking for. But just going, seeing what was going on with the organization and seeing the projects that I really like, I just volunteered my help whenever I saw that there was kind of like a need or that people were running around. So if you are interested, it's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to be active. It's a great way to really build your hard skills and your transferable skills. But like, don't overthink it. Just show up. If you like the event, then it's something that you're probably gonna like helping out with. And Active has such a wide variety of events that if you don't like one thing, you can specialize in something else too. So just kind of come in and enjoy it, because it's all fun stuff to do. Yeah, so it doesn't ever feel like work. It just feels like you're hanging out with friends.
Yeah, we don't really ask volunteers to do a lot of data entry.
Yeah, no.
unless they really enjoy
Which I feel like there are people, like when those pedestrian counts,
yeah.
People really enjoyed that, so that was really good. And it's fun that there's really something for everyone.
Yeah.
At every level. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you touched on it a little bit. Your interests are very varied, and I think the organization to some degree is almost caught up to you. On Instagram, you're known as Zero Waste Grace,
Yes, yes.
where you share a lot of great tips on how to live more sustainably. What kind of inspired you to, like, as an individual, focus on that issue and start to not only individual but share it more broadly with the community and friends and family?
I think I've always been really conscious of the environment and like the animals. That's just something I'm really passionate about. So whenever I do things for myself, I try to be as sustainable as possible. And I think when I really kind of wanted to start sharing the message is when I started working as a professional and I saw that there was like a lot of waste like in the work setting. So I started kind of slowly implementing changes at my job and like suggesting things that were a little bit more sustainable. And I saw how much people appreciated it and how easy it was once people started kind of catching on to it, because I feel like when we're so wasteful, it's not because we're trying to be wasteful. It's just so convenient, and we need a reminder to be like, hey, yes, it is convenient to get that single waste thing, but look, often it's cheaper and more sustainable just to do something reusable. And so reminding people of those things has been really great to see that people are so receptive to it. And then because I liked it, I actually did a resource recycling management certificate at SMC. And so then I got to learn all the backside technical stuff. So that kind of really fueled the information of the things that I was already doing. And so, yeah. And then honestly, just a part of it's, that's kind of how I grew up, I always joke that a lot of the sustainable things that are being marketed nowadays as like the green new stuff that we should be doing is stuff that our parents were already doing because they were forced to because of the need to be conservative with resources. So I always give credit to my mom. A lot of it is because like how she raised me to like, just not be wasteful and be mindful. And, growing up like very humble, we had very like few things. So we always had to make sure to be mindful of what we were using. So it's been cool to see that it's at least kind of spreading out and being more advocated for.
Right. Yeah, and there are lots of benefits, as you mentioned, to it. It's not only better for the environment, but usually it's better for your personal finance.
And your
way
health
to save money
and all that good stuff.
your health and more. And just to touch base, you mentioned SMC. Not everyone might know what SMC is.
Santa Monica College.
Okay, so you did the certificate there, and that was like, was that a 1-year program? Or can someone, if someone were interested in doing that?
It's actually a really cool program. It's only 4 classes. It's 12 units. And I stacked it to do it all in one semester. Because I was actually already working at the college. So I just stayed late and I did the classes in the evenings. And it was really cool because you get to meet some really great people. Like I met my friend who works at Heal the Bay, and now we're still friends. And we would have like never met had we not just bumped into each other at those classes. So, and now because Santa Monica is known to be so sustainable, not only have they expanded that to an organic certificate, but they've also expanded to aquaculture and making aquaculture sustainable. So they have like diving classes to learn how to sustainably farm out in the ocean. Yeah,
that's awesome. So along those lines, I recently read that the average American consumes 500 pounds of plastic a year, or is responsible for disposing of that much plastic, and over 91% of it is not, or ends up in a landfill or is littered, so it's not being reused or recycled. I think for a lot of people, our culture and our society is so filled with plastics now that it can be really daunting and overwhelming to try to reduce or wean yourself off of single-use plastics. And I know there are annual events like Plastic Free July that encourage people to use less plastic. As someone who's obviously spent a lot of time and energy in this space, are there things that, like, if someone came to you and asked for just basic advice, like what are the first steps I could take that wouldn't be too difficult to really have an impact on?
I think like the easy things that you could definitely do is like your reusable water bottle and like your reusable utensils. So I always think or I always encourage people to say, well, first of all, don't go buying stuff, because then that's just adding problems or adding to the problem, because you're creating more consumption of products. So use what you have. Like instead of buying reusable utensils, like what I do is I grab the utensils that I have like in the kitchen, and then I take those for lunch every day. And then try to just be a little bit mindful, you know, if you're going out to dinner, try to not over order so you don't have a bunch of leftovers. And then I always try to take like a little Tupperware so I can take my leftovers in my own container instead of having to do like the styrofoam and the takeout and the plastic stuff. So that's really easy. But I think one of the biggest thing is just to not waste. So don't worry so much about the plastic because yes, it's important, but realistically, the commercial system doesn't really set it up to be convenient to avoid plastic as easily. So I tell people if you're just starting off, try off by just not wasting too much food. So be mindful of what you buy and try not to let it go to waste because all that takes energy to move, to produce, to grow, to package and all that stuff. So just using what you already have is going to be already super impactful. And then if you do have any green waste, put it in your green bin. And LA County, check on your city, but LA County now is allowing everybody to put all their scraps and green waste in their green bin, and that gets made into compost. So that's a really easy way to make it accessible because you don't have to worry about composting yourself. You don't have to worry about stinking up like your bin. And it's great because it keeps your trash cleaner too. So it's kind of just like nice because then you don't have to deal with stinky trash because you're throwing it out in the green bin instead. And then you can go pick up free compost from the city. So it's kind of a win-win. And those are probably the easiest things, you know, just consume a little less, use what you do buy, and then throw your green scraps in the green bin. Yeah.
Good to know. So once someone's gotten past those initial steps, I mean, as someone who's been doing this for many years, are there areas that you find particularly challenging, like strategies you've identified to become an advanced zero waste individual or someone who really...
I think the hardest thing is when you're busy, honestly, you know, because being mindful of wasting less takes time. Like buying bulk, you have to go to a certain market. And like I live in a particular food desert, so I have to be really mindful that if I'm going to do a bulk run, that I need to try to do it when I'm already on that side of town. So I'm not like driving out of the way just to go for the run. So honestly, just finding time for it. But what I tell people is that just vote with your dollars. So the best thing you should be doing as you start getting like more and more into the practice of being more sustainable is be more mindful to like shop local, shop small. As long as you're like doing those two things, those are the businesses that are going to have the more green practices anyways. They're going to be doing reusable utensils, reusable like cups, and maybe not going to like a Starbucks that will use the paper cup even if you have your reusable cup, because the small businesses are always willing and wanting to, and they're always telling, like when I've talked to them or when I bring my containers, they're like, yeah, I love that you're doing this. Thank you for doing this. Like I wish everybody did this, but consumers don't take the time to either bring their cups, or if I give them something reusable, then they're like complaining because then they have to bring it back or they can't take it away. So shopping small, shopping local, and voting with their dollars is like probably the next step that you could do, because then if we patron the people who are already making the changes, then it creates more of a need, and it just gives more options for people to have opportunities and access to it. So now we're like seeing like big commercial companies kind of greenwashing a lot of their products and offer them as like eco-friendly options, but they're not anymore eco-friendly. They're just kind of labeling it because they see that people are now liking that movement. So
right, or
stick with the small businesses is always the best bet.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well, because a lot of times if you make a recommendation at a chain or something, you know, that even if it's the manager, they're just a manager of one of maybe hundreds of stores, and maybe they'll share it with headquarters, whereas a small business, a lot of times it'll be the proprietor right there, like the owner, and you'll talk directly to them. And I was chatting with a business owner this week and asked her about, that she's using paper boxes instead of the plastic boxes, and asked her also about, you know, can I bring in my own containers here? Will they put it in there? Like, absolutely, So very interested, much more open and receptive to making changes. So,
definitely.
And then of course it keeps the funding more local too. It doesn't go out of state or out of country. It stays really in the community.
Exactly,
Well, I know, so you've talked about your passion obviously for cycling and safe streets as well as zero waste issues. Are there other issues that you're passionate about or looking to get more involved in?
Where do we
With,
start?
I'm sure with
No,
all
just
your
kidding.
free time.
No, probably like the pet issue. You know, that's probably the next thing that really breaks my heart. Seeing like all the dogs being euthanized, all the cats being euthanized, and people still like backyard breeding and selling their pets and like abandoning their animals in the shelter. Like it's so gut wrenching to see. So I'm always telling, like I'm always sharing resources like spay and neuter, spay and neuter, chip your animal, put a name tag so if they get lost, you know where to get, how to get them home, you know, and just being mindful as a pet owner that, you know, it's a lifetime commitment and, you know, they're living, breathing beings. So, you know, be mindful of that and taking care of them and not just doing an impulse buy. And if you are going to get an animal, there's so many cute animals that are up for adoption nowadays. So there really is no reason to have to buy a pet retail anymore. So I think that's the other thing that I've been trying to drill on my friends and asking them to consider.
So how many have you adopted?
I've only adopted one. She is a hot mess, so she does not play well with others. I've tried introducing her to other pets, and she said no thank you and has been a mean girl. So I'm stuck with just one for the meantime.
Yeah. And what, is she a dog? Or
yeah, she's a little rescue pit bull that came from Skid Row. And
wow.
so she's really cute because she's deaf. And she's a real big sweetheart, but a real big, like, little chubby baby. So, comes with a lot of trauma, but she's still very, 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 very sweet. So, it's been nice that, you know, I was fostering her and they couldn't find a home for her, so I ended up just kind of foster failing her, and now she's with me. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations and thank you again for being active on that front as well. That's one area our organization, of course, supportive, but I think we have had a couple of times when we've had an open streets event invited the local animal shelter to participate and engage with the community at the event.
Well, Jeff Seymour Family Center counts as like a little shelter for the cats, the stray cats, you know?
That's true. That's true. We have fed some cats and encouraged them to get spayed and having them spayed or neutered.
And then you guys rehomed
and do trap and release.
The animal. You guys got it back to their home.
Yeah, we did. Unfortunately, I don't think that story ended as well, but we did. We tried. Yeah. So the one question we like to end our interviews with, at least recently, is about the San Gabriel Valley, and it's if you had a friend visiting from out of town and you wanted to, had a day to show them around the San Gabriel Valley, what would you do with them?
I think I'd probably take them biking or checking out the protected bike lane that they just opened up in Pasadena, because that's been really great to check out. There's so many good eateries and cafes around there. And I love the Huntington Library all the time. They have a great cafe there, always use reusables. They're super green and sustainable. They try to do local food as well. And just walk around and check out the flowers there and check out a lot of cute photo ops and a lot of really pretty foliage. So that's probably what I would want to do. A bike ride through the protected bike lanes to the Huntington Library.
To the Huntington.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I would join for that.
It's always fun. There's always the flowers are in different seasons. So if the roses aren't blooming, the cactus are blooming, or like there's always something really pretty to see.
Yeah, and the cafe is excellent, and
the
they use
cafe
reusables.
is excellent. Yeah. And right now they have the stinky flower, the big one that smells like rotting flesh. Yeah. So they have that one. Probably blooming like every couple months because they have a few in rotation.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that. Okay. Well, that concludes today's podcast. Thank you again for listening today and joining us, Grace. We hope you can also join us on Thursday, September 12th, when we honor and celebrate Grace and the other awardees at the San Gabriel Mission Grapevine Arbor. Tickets can still be purchased at ActiveSGV.org. And thanks again.
Goes for a great cause.